In a recent interview with Fox News, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared, quote, "We're not going to have a cartel operating or masquerading as a government, operating in our own hemisphere." The U.S. is backing that promise with fire. Since September 2nd, 2025, at least 4 Venezuelan boats accused of smuggling drugs have been destroyed in rapid U.S. strikes, and the campaign could only be starting. With 8 American warships already in the Caribbean, carrying thousands of troops and aircraft, experts warn that a direct clash between the U.S. and Venezuela has never felt closer. President Nicolas Maduro has gone so far as to call it, quote, "the greatest threat that's been seen on our continent in the last 100 years. As this surge of American firepower continues, Washington has already chosen the hub for its growing armada, a long-abandoned World War II port. Ever since his first term in office, President Trump has set his sights on bringing down the regime of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, labeled by many nations as illegitimate and totalitarian after repeated scandals, persecution of opposition leaders, and national elections widely accused of being rigged. By 2020, during Trump's last months in office, the U.S. officially branded Maduro as a criminal upon filing narco-terrorism charges, and even placed a $15 million bounty on information that could lead to his capture, a figure that's since risen to $50 million. Now, in his second term, Trump's administration appears more determined than ever to bring down Maduro, willing to pull out the heavy guns to make clear that America is not bluffing. On September 2nd, the administration released footage showing a Venezuelan boat in the southern Caribbean obliterated in a rapid strike, hit either by a U.S. military helicopter or a self-piloted MQ-9 Reaper drone. In seconds, the vessel was gone, its 11 crew neutralized, and its cargo, allegedly a drug haul bound for American shores, destroyed. Soon after, Trump took to social media to declare, quote, "Be warned, if you are transporting drugs, we are hunting you." The president meant every word. Following that first strike, more Venezuelan boats were reported sunk in similar attacks, as American forces intensified their campaign to secure the region. And it seems the clashes will not end there. Parallel to these maritime strikes, reports emerged of a massive U.S. naval buildup in the region. An estimated 4,500 sailors aboard 8 warships of the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group steamed into the Caribbean. Among them were vessels armed with AV-8B Harrier II ground attack jets, aircraft designed to hammer hostile positions, provide close air support for troops, and conduct deep reconnaissance operations. Even more alarming, at least 2 guided missile destroyers are said to be present in the region as well, each packed with more than 90 payloads, capable of swatting down incoming threats or unleashing critical salvos against enemy aircraft, warships, and submarines alike. Although it's unclear how long these fighters will remain prowling in the Caribbean, it seems like the U.S. has already found a port for them to remain stationed for as long as they need. A near-forgotten port, which could be about to make a big comeback. Roosevelt Roads is one of the biggest American military complexes ever built, located on Puerto Rico's eastern shore. The idea for the site, as well as its name, is credited to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had already identified the potential of establishing a naval air station on the island as early as 1919, when he was still Assistant Secretary of the Navy. However, it wouldn't be until the early 40s, when Hitler began his European Dominion campaign, and the possibility of a Nazi naval invasion seemed more real than ever, that Roosevelt Roads would formally be founded. From the outset, the site was more than just a base, reportedly equipped with schools, roads, and entire neighborhoods of houses to host thousands of military personnel and their families. After the war, it was officially designated as a naval station, and for decades became one of America's most important strongholds in the Caribbean. From its docks and runways, the U.S. launched some of its most notable military operations in the region during the late 20th century, including the invasions of Haiti, Grenada, Panama, and the Dominican Republic. The base also became a crucial hub for countering drug trafficking, as well as conducting naval training exercises to keep personnel ready for ship-to-shore operations and amphibious landings across the region. By 2004, however, Washington deemed Roosevelt Roads no longer essential and opted to close the site indefinitely. For years, efforts were made to repurpose the site into a commercial complex, with parts of the land handed to local authorities. But recently, there's been interest in reviving the site as a military complex once again. The Navy itself has described Roosevelt Roads as, quote, likely one of the largest coastal properties under single ownership, an expanse of over 8,600 acres, roughly 10 times the size of Central Park, equipped with a runway stretching more than 11,000 feet, long enough to handle the heaviest bombers in America's arsenal, and deep-water port facilities capable of hosting virtually any warship, from amphibious assault vessels to guided missile destroyers. According to globalsecurity.org, the site was once considered powerful enough to support, quote, 60% of the Atlantic fleet under wartime conditions, and there were even rumors that if the British Empire ever fell to Axis powers, Roosevelt Roads would become the new operating base for the British fleet. Now, with tensions in the Caribbean escalating, and Venezuela's coast less than 500 miles away, Washington won't give up on Roosevelt Roads so easily. According to recent reports, U.S. military personnel are actively restoring infrastructure across the base, hinting that the site may soon be ready to become the center for American operations against enemy states and narco-trafficking networks across the Caribbean. Aside from repairing infrastructure at Roosevelt Roads, American commanders have also been deploying aircraft into the complex. Heavy airlifts, such as the C-5 Galaxy and C-17 Globemaster III, have been spotted across the site, alongside MV-22 Osprey tiltrotors and CH-53K King Stallion heavy-lift helicopters, which could be used for either moving construction materials for restoration work or transporting military assets for amphibious and ground operations. One of the most notable deployments to the Puerto Rican complex is a detachment of 10 F-35 stealth fighters, first flagged in satellite images and later confirmed by the Defense Department as part of a broader U.S. campaign to choke off drug transport in the region. While the F-35s have not conducted direct strikes on Venezuelan targets, their presence is widely read as a warning shot to Maduro's regime, announcing that the United States is prepared to escalate if necessary. If greenlit in the coming weeks, these jets could easily join the U.S. hunt for Venezuelan boats, using their AN/APG-81 AESA radar and electro-optical targeting system to find and track even small and fast vessels day or night. However, these jets could also be employed to slip into Venezuelan airspace, conducting intelligence-gathering missions without being detected. Armed with a wide range of precision-guided weapons and standoff options when stealth isn't required, the F-35s could, in theory, also carry out ground strikes with minimal warning. At this stage of the U.S.-Venezuela standoff, however, a direct strike on a target within the South American nation still seems unlikely. Even so, Washington doesn't seem to be ruling out this possibility altogether. Shortly before the first strike against an alleged Venezuelan drug boat, reports began pouring in of a major amphibious training exercise taking place in Puerto Rico, involving thousands of sailors and at least 3 amphibious warships. According to the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit, which led the drills, the operation proved invaluable for maintaining combat readiness, stating, quote, "The challenging terrain and tropical climate of Puerto Rico provides an ideal environment for the 22nd MEU to conduct realistic amphibious training and hone specialized skills such as patrolling, reconnaissance, and survival techniques, ensuring a high level of readiness while forward deployed." Officially, there was no indication that these maneuvers were a rehearsal for a Venezuelan invasion. Yet the timing has raised eyebrows. Analysts noted that in parallel with the landings, guided missile warships were observed crossing the Panama Canal under cover of night, then abruptly ceased reporting their positions as they appeared to angle toward Venezuelan waters. Meanwhile, reports suggest the nuclear-powered fast attack submarine USS Newport News has been active during the operations, though its exact patrol routes remain unconfirmed. Whether these missions are meant as psychological pressure against Maduro or genuine preparation for escalation remains to be determined. Yet whatever the case may be, one thing remains clear. Far from backing down, Venezuela appears to be bracing itself for a direct confrontation. Even before the United States began striking Venezuelan boats, President Nicolas Maduro has already moved to bolster his nation's defenses against a possible U.S. invasion by deploying some 15,000 troops to the Colombian border, declaring, quote, "We will emerge victorious from this situation." Since then, Venezuela has shown no signs of backing down, even as President Trump continues to escalate the pressure, and Roosevelt Roads keeps on updating its facilities. In early September, a pair of Venezuelan F-16 fighters flew dangerously close to the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Jason, one of the American warships, dispatched to strengthen Washington's Caribbean fleet. Though the fighters did not engage, the Pentagon swiftly condemned the maneuver, calling it, quote, a highly provocative move designed to interfere with our counter-narco-terror operations. For now, the standoff between the U.S. and Venezuela holds. But if tensions continue to rise, all seems to suggest that Roosevelt Roads will stand at the center of whatever comes next in the Caribbean.